What is Warhammer 40k? Every year, more and more people want to learn and join the Warhammer community. If you're one of these new people, you're in luck. We here at the Eclipse Corps would like to introduce you to a brand new hobby. First off, the universe itself. The Warhammer universe is massive, arguably bigger than any other sci-fi universe out there. The setting is very grimdark, having a lot to do with constant war across the galaxy, millions dying in droves, and entrails hanging from the walls. It's basically a big bloodbath. The main focus of Warhammer is humanity, specifically the Imperium of Man. The Imperium is this massive faction encompassing millions of worlds and untold billions of troops and organizations within it. This massive entity is all ruled by the Emperor of Mankind. The Emperor of Mankind used to lead the Imperium personally. He's basically a godlike being among men. But 10,000 years ago, during the Horus Heresy, when half of the Space Marine forces went traitor, the Emperor was mortally wounded as he defeated the leader of the traitors, Horus. To keep the Emperor from dying, they put him on the Golden Throne where he resides on Terra, or known as Earth in 40k. Before the Emperor started his conquest to take over the galaxy, he created 20 genetically modified demigod-like beings in his image. These 20 sons of his were intended to be the leaders of his 20 legions. They are the strongest fighters in the galaxy aside from the Emperor. Seemingly unkillable to anyone other than another Primarch, these warriors stand out from any other of the Emperor's creations. Now for the Space Marines. The Space Marines are the cover boy for 40k. They're featured very heavily in games and merchandise. Space Marines, or Adeptus Astartes, are the elite superhuman soldiers who defend and fight for the Imperium. They're spread out across the Imperium like a thin layer of butter on toast, scattered enough to protect important worlds and strategic locations. But what makes them superhuman is their gene seed. These enhance Space Marines into superhumans, giving them, just to name a few, strength, speed, better eyesight, an extra heart, another set of lungs, an organ that literally filters poison out of their system, the ability to spit acid to escape imprisonment, and more. On top of all these genetic enhancements, Space Marines receive their own suit of power armor and a bolt gun. The Space Marines are just the elite forces of the Imperium. Here's your average Joe, the Imperial Guardsman. The Guard is made up of billions of troops from every planet in the Imperium. They each get a lasgun and some body armor and are deployed en masse to counter any and all threats. They also receive some of the heaviest armor, including Leman Russ tanks, Basilisk artillery, and Bane blades, which is basically a super tank.
With an army so large, you'll need to equip them all with weapons and ammunition. So where does all this stuff come from? The Adeptus Mechanicus is your man. The Mechanicus is also spread across the entire Imperium. They set up shop on planets they turn into forge worlds, entire planets dedicated to production of weapons, ships, tanks, you name it. They repair and construct anything in the Imperium. When the Emperor found them on Mars, they thought he was a being called the Omnissiah, or the Machine God. They practically worship technology in a cult-like manner, burning incense, and even suggesting praying to the vehicles as they repair them. But no one really complains, since they literally make everyone's weapons.
With all the religious views that have spread across the Imperium for over 10,000 years, suggesting that the Emperor is in fact a god, a lot of religious forces have formed. One of these forces are the Sisters of Battle. The Sisters of Battle are basically kitted out space nuns, taking the fight to the enemy in their holy missions from the Emperor. These nuns in power armor wield Space Marine bolters and hold their own in some cases, making final stands and achieving victory when the Guard couldn't. Despite all the religious controversy in the 40k universe, these mega babes have certainly earned their place.
Now to bring us back to Terra, where the Emperor resides. If you thought the Space Marines were the elite and strongest the Imperium has to offer, you're wrong. The Adeptus Custodes are an ultra-elite force created by the Emperor himself, kitted with the Imperium's best weapons and armor to be his personal army and bodyguards. The Custodes guard the Imperial Palace and Terra, keeping the Emperor safe from all external threats 24/7. These guys clad in golden armor are taller, faster, and stronger than your average Space Marine. Some of them even being recorded to be Primarchs in duels. They are true warriors, worthy to protect the Emperor at all times.
Another faction that guards Terra are the Sisters of Silence. If you took the Sisters of Battle, gave them golden armor, the ability to stop psychic powers, and muted them all, you'd have the Sisters of Silence. They too guard Terra and are regarded as some of the strongest fighters in the galaxy. They're basically an order of witch hunters going around in secrecy, taking out rogue psykers across the Imperium. When we talk about religious orders, we absolutely have to mention the Inquisition. They are an order that tries to protect the Imperium by killing anyone that opposes them. They go to great lengths to stop the corruption, even if it means annihilating an entire planet. Anyone that they deem as heretical is fair game. Basically, these guys are at the top, and they believe that they answer only to the Emperor, even though he can't speak anymore. But yeah, they basically go around as secret police, gunning people down who they think are traitors. Now to go towards the bigger ground units of the Imperium, the Imperial Knights. The Knights are these mech-like vehicles piloted by a single person from a Knight house, basically in order like with a king of the house and a list of disciples below him. Each suit can be passed down the house tree as the original pilots die, and your position in the house determines your equipment, meaning the higher your rank, the better the gear. They act as a heavy support vanguard, able to take massive weapons either for range or giant chain swords for melee combat, like gripping a tank in half up close. The biggest units available for ground warfare are the Titans of the Collegia Titanica, or just to call them Titans. The Titans are massive war engines of different sizes, each carrying different weapons of war. These massive units are the strongest the Imperium has to offer. Some even carry weapons that shoot from one continent to the next. How's that for an artillery barrage? They come in 4 sizes: Warhound Scout Titan, Reaver Titan, Warlord Titan, and the Imperator class Titan. Basically a walking fortress with a cathedral on its back. When these things clash, the world is ravaged. Last but certainly not least for the Imperium is the Imperial Navy. The Imperial Navy is the biggest element of the Imperium of Man, with virtually limitless amounts of ships of all sizes. The Navy is tasked with protecting the entirety of Imperial space, with millions of ships at its disposal, with even the most standard making the Titans look like toys, clash in the thousands in space combat known as the Void War. Not only are they the biggest and strongest ships with the ability to nuke an entire planet from orbit, but they also travel using warp drives. What traveling through the warp is, you're basically driving through hell. Literally driving through hell, hoping that you arrive to your destination within a good amount of time. Warp travel is very iffy. For an example, say an Imperial world is being attacked and sends out a distress signal. A local Imperium fleet will get ready, gear up, and activate its warp drives. They could arrive early or even years later in the wrong sector altogether. Also along the way, they all are collectively praying the Geller fields hold, or the crew will be torn apart by literal demons twisting and contorting the crew inside, killing everyone before they even make it halfway. Welcome to 40K.
With the Imperium summed up, it's time to move on to the other factions, which I'll try to do briefly as to not take up that much more of your time. So the next big faction is the Forces of Chaos. Chaos is ruled by 4 gods. First off is Khorne. Khorne is the god of blood and skulls. Its followers are usually just very angry and want to fight you in melee, especially the World Eaters, who are an entire traitor legion who betrayed the Emperor and joined Khorne, but on top of the usual angry, they had nails put in their brains to make them just full of pure rage from the start.
Next Chaos god would have to be Nurgle. Nurgle is the god of death and decay. Most of his followers can be seen covered in flies with their insides hanging out. This actually benefits them, making them more resilient and harder to take down, since they've become so bloated and big, so it gives them an edge on the battlefield. Then we have Tzeentch, the god of change, and referred to as Lord of Sorcerers. Tzeentch represents change. Most people who follow him are Psykers. Psykers possess special abilities such as lightning, fire breath, telekinesis, and much more. Last but not least, we have Slaanesh. Slaanesh represents excessiveness and indulgence. I'll give you an example. If you like to eat cake, that's fine. But if you eat cake constantly and basically have foodgasms while eating it, and then taking it to the next level with your cake, you're basically a follower of Slaanesh. A type of unit that some Slaanesh armies take are the Noise Marines, literally Space Marines with giant sound cannons that blast the flesh off of guardsmen when fired at.
Where these chaos gods live is the Warp. The Warp is basically a realm also referred to as the Imperium. A long, long time ago, it used to be the realm of souls. When beings died, their souls would go to the realm of souls and reside there. But now, after thousands of years of constant and perpetual warfare, it's turned into the Warp, a realm that makes hell look like a sandbox. It's used by psychers to use power like shooting lightning or fireballs, and even to do things like melt a space marine inside his own armor, as well as being the main way to travel in the Imperium.
Along with the Loyalist Space Marines, there are also Traitor Marines. Traitor Marines have renounced the Imperium of Men and have joined Chaos or are rebels against the Imperium who now want to burn it to the ground. For a good example, during the Horus Heresy, when the Emperor clashed with his son Horus, 8 other Primarchs and their legions betrayed the Emperor and joined Chaos. These legions and war bands of Space Marines have survived the 10,000-year-long war against the Imperium and won't stop until it's destroyed. Then we have the hordes and hordes of demons that accompany the Chaos Gods. These massive hordes of sometimes millions of demons of all shapes and sizes from different gods alone pose a threat, but then work with the traitor forces to take the fight to Imperial worlds across the Imperium whenever a demonic portal opens up. Finally, we talk about the several alien races who fight each other as well as fight the Imperium all the time. We have the Orcs, who are basically a force that shows up in massive groups called Waa's. They turn up in millions with crudely made fleets and weapons and just charge and try to overwhelm the enemy with sheer numbers. They aren't the brightest, but their natural savagery and numbers, while disregarding their own life, does make them very dangerous. The Eldar, or now referred to as Eldari, are a race of space elves who live very long lives, but are scattered lightly across the galaxy. They used to own the galaxy, but when they literally murder-banged Slaanesh into existence, it wiped out a huge chunk of them, and now they're basically salty in the corners, thinking somehow they'll retake the galaxy, and they could go back to whatever it was they were doing before. They reside on planets called craft worlds, basically like an entire planet, like a Forge world, but instead home to an entire Eldar subfaction like the Uthway or Bealtan. The Necrons are an entire race that long ago once was a massive combined force of beings turned into scary evil robots. They fought the Eldar for control of the galaxy long ago before humanity emerged from Earth or Terra. They basically want to just kill every other living creatures out of sheer spite, and since most of them are mindless robots, they now no longer feel pain and do as they're told. The real kicker from the Necrons is that they have 2 worlds scattered across the whole galaxy. So if an archaeologist is digging and hits one of these sleeping Necrons, it'll cause a chain reaction and the whole planet will wake up with these things and massacre the planet.
The Tyranids are basically massive space bugs that eat everything in the way. They go planet to planet, devouring entire worlds of biomass that they use to fuel and feed themselves. They've come from out of the galaxy, which is a little scary since the fleets that have popped up in 40K have caused massive devastation to hundreds of worlds already nomming their way through Space Marines and Guardsmen alike. It's rumored the fleets we've seen are just scouting fleets, and that even larger, more deadly fleets are arriving from the other galaxies they've consumed.
We have the Dark Eldar, who are like the Eldar but are edgy. They like spikes, torture, and pleasure. They act as space pirates and raid human worlds, picking up slaves to be used for anything they want. Their main craft world is hidden in the Webway, and a little safe haven for them for now. And finally, the Tau. The Tau are a fairly new race to 40K. They're a very small little group of planets on the edge of the Imperium and played up as a new contender to the Galactic War. They rely on superior technology and range to best armies they encounter, and the saying, "for the Emperor," instead is "for the greater good." They get a lot of hate for being such a small race that's supposed to have better technology than any other race using mech suits to fight, but then they don't train their soldiers in melee combat, solely relying on range. This has led to people saying that they have plot armor, etc., so they can stay alive.
Well, that's a quick summary of the main players and some sub-factions in Warhammer 40K, a massive universe at constant war of plenty of sub-factions to choose from. With its own tabletop game, you can buy, build, paint, and play with an array of miniatures from Games Workshop. It's a hobby enjoyed by hundreds of thousands of people across the globe, and with hundreds of books available from the Black Library, with over 50 in the Horus Heresy novel series alone, it really is a never-ending expanding universe of eternal war.
Thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, leave a like and some comments on the video, and we hope you have a great day.